It's 2024. Oh, wait.
بالحرب والسلم يا خوف عالسلم يا غضب الله عالظالم حي الله الرجال حرة فلسطين.
Four of them. 2020 motherfucking 4. If you were born in the 90s like me, does it not feel like this is the most insane thing? Like that we're Phil of the future, whoa, or kids. I'm mixing things up. Hello, current and future best friends. Welcome to the Janae Reads and Writes channel, my channel where I read and write and rant. My name is Janae, and today we are going to be talking about my best, worst, well, the worst, best, and really good of 2023 that I've read. So we're going to be talking about my best books, my worst books, books that weren't my best, but they were still really good. Some DNFs. Okay, we're not going to be doing stats in this video. That's going to be a separate video. I'm not going to discuss my, books that I didn't really think much about them. There were a lot that were pretty mid to me. So, I am just going to put a graphic up for those. What do you want to do, girls? Do you want to start with the positives or the negatives? Let me flip a freaking coin. Random piece of trash on the ground. Okay. If it's orange sticker, best. If it's other side, worst. It landed literally on its side. So that tells me that we need to start in the middle. So let's start with the mid. Let me just go ahead and put these here. Blah. The girls were mid. Sorry. Like, literally, they was middlin. They was in the middle. There was nothing really to write home about. There was nothing to call mama about. There was nothing to get jazzed up about. Like, it just was what it was. Let's talk about worst books of the year. I'm just going to start from the bottom, go to the top. There were only 6 books on my worst of the year list, so that is good. Even though there were so many mid, I definitely wish that there weren't. I'm hoping this year I'm getting good and bad only. Like, I hate mid books. Like, be good or be bad or do something, do something else. But number 6 on my list of worst books of the year for me was Evelyn Hugo. Evelyn Hugo wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. I gave it a 3.5. You can do worse, much worse than a 3.5. But the problem for me, the thing with Evelyn Hugo is everyone gassed it up. They were like, ah! She's the best girl you've ever met. She's so amazing. Oh my God, she's perfect. You'll never be able to sleep again with how much longing you'll feel, like the yearning, like she did it. That's not what happened for me. Unfortunately, what I got was weird white womening. Because here's my thing. This author, I don't know your sexuality. And frankly, generally as an author, I really generally don't need to know your sexuality. Unless you're really swerving crazy far out of your lane. This author, regardless of sexuality, wrote like a straight woman writing lesbian shit. And it was just so... The romance between these two women was so nothing. And it tried to be so much. Like, it tried to be like, oh, it's toxic. Like, oh, it's so complicated. Oh, there's so much. Not really. I don't think.
A red wig and a silver dress? I don't think.
You know, it wasn't giving. It's just, it didn't live up to the hype. Weird dynamics, weird vibes from it. Also, especially, again, like... the fact that this author is clearly white and was like being like, ooh, there's a mixed biracial like black woman, and ooh, there's a mixed Cuban woman, and ooh, the issues of their race are like brought up in this, and they're the main POV characters, so like their lived experience needs to feel very grounded and real and make a lot of sense to the reader. I don't think. I'm gonna try and make this as quick as I can, but it might be long as fuck. So maybe I can be on the background. I don't care. Put me on the background. Get a snack, girl. Like, this is my TED Talk, and I'm just telling you all the information about the books I read this year. I'm about to get Storygraph Plus, and I'm just shouting it out to the girls that I think that I recommend it as a purchase. You get to do cool things with your stats, like compare them side by side and do all this other stuff with them. You also, the thing that I really like is you can add stuff to your up next. You can have Storygraph, like, look at what you recently read and liked, and like recommend something to come up next if you don't know what to read, although I have too much going on to not know what to read. Okay, so my number 5th worst book of the year, you have probably, oh, and let me just say, like, if this is your favorite book in the world, if you like it, I love it, girl. Go on, do what you gotta do. Go do you. This is just how I felt, personally. My personal opinion. It's my opinion! Everybody experiences books differently, and I think that's actually incredible and one of the best things about reading, actually. And I think that's a fun thing, because that's the fun thing about booktube and book talk and stuff, is that people explain their different experiences. Even with a really popular book a lot of people read, everyone's talking about a different experience with it. A recommendation will never really tell you how you're going to experience a book. And I think that that's fucking sick as shit. Oh, also, shout out, not sponsored at all, but Aubrey K templates on Etsy. I know what girls want. I know what they like. That, Miss Ma'am, you know what the girls are looking for. You know what the girls are asking for, what the girls are begging for, what they're crying for. Because this template, this reading spreadsheet for 2024... If you want to, you can put your book covers in there. I'm not going to be doing that because it makes the cells really tall, and I don't like it. I can't handle it, like, mentally for some reason. But we've got title, we've got so much stuff. Maybe my first wrap up, I'll go into depth on this, but like, there is so much. It's so customizable. It's so pretty. It's so well done. Just like, for the girls like me who don't understand Google formula, you are a superhero. You are the girls that don't do Excel. You're everything. I mean, I can do a little spreadsheet, but I can't do nothing close to this. There's a little section for your DNFs. Shut up, everybody, shut up. Shut up. Aubrey K templates is talking.
Zane gets it. Zane speaking.
5th worst book. You probably heard me talk about it if you are on my TikTok at all. Or if you've watched any other videos, my video where I talked about it before, Lessons in Chemistry, Bonnie Garmis. Girl, what the fuck was that? I don't think I disliked it for the same reason other people disliked it. I saw that it was in Katie Coulson's worst books of the year, and I was like, yes, because, like, I need more negative energy surrounding that book, because I just hate that, like, Barnes & Noble's made it the book of the year, and then everybody was like, yes, look at this feminist girl boss slay cunt pussy cock. Ugh. It was just a white womaning, and like, not in a cunt pussy cis type of way, like a Regina George. You know what I mean? Not even giving me cunty white woman. It was just like, I'm a white woman, and I know feminism so much, and science, and athletes, and I love men and a man. You know what I genuinely thought, the story that I wanted to read, the story Bonnie Garmis set out to write originally, about the daughter and the impact on her life from having a mother like that. A mother who was all set up like that. It was all whatever. That's a story I'm down to read. Down to clown, baby. I'm not necessarily here to hear about, like, how just, oh, she's so hot, cool, beautiful, sexy, perfect, look how perfect this white woman is. Oh, and she supports Rosa Parks. Here's the thing. I understand that probably back in the 60s, it probably was, like, suicide, like, politically, or if you were a public figure or something, to support civil rights. Possibly, maybe that was the case. Like, I don't know. I ain't lived there. But there were people actually genuinely risking their lives. There were people that died in the line of fire, like during the civil rights movement. Not just black people. There were white people there too who were standing up because they knew what was right. So I really don't. I just don't have it in me any. I don't have any more room in my heart left, personally, or any grace left for like little kind of half-ass little pume little. A book full of white characters, no black characters at all, which, again, I can't stress enough, black characters still exist. Yes, there was segregation, but black characters were still around. You could still find them. Like, especially if you were someone like Elizabeth Zott, who was, like, a fairly independent woman, like, she could have had black people in her life if she wanted to. Like, the character easily could have. Or, here's my other thing. Either you're trying to make it very realistic, or you're trying to make this a fantasy of, like, ooh, hot, feminist, sexy white woman. Like, if it's being realistic, she gets kicked off the air, and there are black people in it. If it's a fantasy, she gets to stay on the air. Also, there are black people in it, probably. You know what I mean? And not just black people, but obviously, like, people from all races. Like, I mean, obviously, there's only so many characters. So there's only so many, and obviously, the main POV character, if the main POV... But just, like... Nobody? Not even the receptionist? Not the neighbor? Nobody? Okay. She didn't even, like, witness a black woman being, like, barred from a thing one time and, like, stood up for her to show how feminist and cool and hot she is? Nothing? Okay. I'm done with that book. I hope to never speak about that book again. I'm done. I'm over it. Okay. Number 4, Neon Gods by Katie Robert. Listen. I'm going to try and give Katie Robert another chance. Because I heard that, like, she has a queer book coming out, and I will give that a try. But this woman, it's one more strike and you're out. I hated this book. And if I could pull up Storygraph, I could tell you in more detail why. But now I'm just pulling straight from my memory. I just remember it feeling very much like, I don't care if it's a fun light story, a fantasy, a literary, whatever. I want the characters to feel real to me. I want the characters to feel like real people. Not that at all. I didn't get that at all. The problems didn't feel real. The solutions to the problems didn't feel real. And it wasn't, again, not even in a fantasy way where it's like, ooh, it's fantastical. Because even in fantasy, you have internal logic to the story. And I'm not saying she didn't have the internal logic. Like, I'm not saying, like, that it was bad world building or anything, necessarily. And I think she did have some diverse characters in there, which I did appreciate. But just overall, I found the book very lackluster. I found it very, it was just very wilted and stilted, like, to me. Like, it just wasn't...
Go, girl, give us nothing.
Who cares? So, I'm sorry, and my thing about it is like, I didn't find the spice, like, the smutty scenes were not like, ooh la la, ooh, this is hot, this is sexy, like, that, it wasn't even giving that. So, like, what are we doing? Whatever. But hey, that is very person to person. Like, the sex scenes you like, very person to person. But for me, it was a no. Number 3, Paper Girls. Make this quick. Not for me. Not into it. Didn't like it. Didn't find it interesting. The art style was fun, and the concept was interesting. But the concept in that first volume did not go anywhere interesting for me. Like, I understand there's only so much you can do in a singular volume of a comic or something like that. But, like, Saga, which is what I read in 2022, like, every volume, some big story things happened. Almost every time. Or, like, at least something, like, something that made you be like, oh, this is the purpose of this volume existing. The purpose of this volume existing seemed to be, like, it was just very... I didn't like it. Also, did a gay man write this? I don't know that he did. Okay, again, this is another thing where, again, sexuality of the author, that's their business. But at the same time, if you're a publicly, seemingly straight author, and you're just gonna release a book that's, like, titled LGBT, but, like, the LGBT element is, like, 2 aliens that aren't very important that are together... These little girls are going to call them the F slur a bunch of times, like, constantly, like, is this for? Why? What? Okay. Again, I'm not trying to yuck your yum, and if you love it, if you like it, I love it. This is just for me. My personal. The Viscount Who Loved Me. The show was so beautiful. So good. And to see, and like the first book was like not good, but it was like, okay, this is passable. But the second book, to see them disgrace my man Anthony's name. I know that's the original Anthony, but the show said this is who Anthony really is, because that nigga in the book, I don't know him. I don't fucking know him. That's a bitch. That is an imposter. The book version of Anthony, a disgrace. Disgusting. A freaking misogynist who, let's be very clear, like, the appeal of the Bridgerton men is like that they're gentlemen. So the appeal of the Bridgerton men is not like, ugh, this woman is so stupid, I want to hit her. Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Love is an Illusion. Number 1, worst book of the year for me. What the fuck? You are going to... So, first of all, you give me this cover where it's very cute. And you're like, this is a romance. And I'm like, okay. I open it. I find out it's a Megaverse. I'm like, okay. You can do fluffy romance in the Megaverse. You can. That's possible. Then you turn around and give me multiple explicit, played out scenes of rape? What are you talking about? And it's only like there's no, I maybe this is a cultural thing, but like there's no context, content warnings. The content warning is just, oh, there's sexual content. No, it doesn't tell you there's literal rape. And then like the guy, and it's like not like, oh, a different guy does that, and then the main character saves main guy, like whatever. It is literally like main guy that we're supposed to think is, ooh, swoony, dreamy, we want to get with him, is the rapist? What the fuck are you talking about? And I'm not well versed on the ethics of that as a fantasy or as a sexual thing that people like. Again, I don't know your life, but for me personally, it just feels like here's what I know for certain on the topic is that is present in something, maybe a little warning, or like, even if culturally, like, we don't do warnings, whatever, at least the cover should not give the idea that this is a fluffy, happy situation that's happening. This is a very sad, dark situation. It should give dark. Like, and this is from the library too. So, like, anybody could go pick that up. I hated that bitch. Now we're in for a mini section, because we only got one book in this section. And this is problematic. So this is a book that is objectively a good book. It is a classic, and it has been a classic for a long time. Unfortunately, the author has decided to do some turf shit and ruin it. You bitch. How dare you? Fuck you. I'm sorry, I just hate bitches like this. Insert fucking J.K. Rowling. So The Color Purple. A fucking black classic, a staple of the culture, LGBT, like, black LGBT staple, incredible, like, really lifted my heart when I first read it. I loved the book, I gave it 5 stars. And then I found out, so I posted a review of it on Twitter being like, oh my god, the church elders didn't tell me this was gay, oh my god, I'm so excited, it's gay, it's black, blah blah blah. Because do you know how hard it is to find some shit that's black and gay and well done? Not saying that black writers aren't good. I'm just saying, like, it's not that it's hard. It's that we're not published and we're not put out there. And then, indie authors don't have a ton of resources. So unfortunately, I think it is significantly harder for an indie author to put their best work into the world because they don't have all the resources that a traditionally published author has access to, such as several rounds of editing sometimes, because that's very expensive. So sometimes what ends out there, may not be the best version of the story, which really, just generally sucks ass. Not that the story sucks ass, but that it just sucks ass, like the circumstances. The fact that it's not the best stories that get out there, it's that the most well-funded stories, the most sellable stories are the ones that get out there. That's like, it's very stupid. So yeah, that's The Color Purple. It can't go into worst or best because it's something that is all fucked up. It's just all fucked up. Then we've got my mid as fuck once again. Here's the graphic in case you missed it. These were good, but not good enough to be great, and not bad enough to be horrible. You know what I mean? Then we've got the really, really good. Now, I'm not going to rank these. These are just in the order that I pulled them off of Storygraph. So, Alone by Olivia Stevens. I am not a fan of, like, heterosexual type of romances, despite... actually, what you've seen me read and how you've seen how I rate it, you can tell that I'm not a fan. But, this story is so precious and sweet and very emotional. It'll get into your emotions. It's on hiatus right now, but you can read it for free. Just search Olivia Stevens. Her website will come up, and you'll be able to click into her about area, which will lead you to where you can get more information about Alone. And then her other project, Darlin', which I'm hoping to go ahead and buy that one on my next paycheck. It is pay what you can, like, as long as it's above $12, I think, or pay what you think it's worth above $12, whatever. Olivia Stevens, definitely one of the new authors that I tried this year, definitely one of the new authors that I really liked. I've tried a lot of new authors this year, only like some of them. Twisted Love by Anna Huang is on this list, and that may be surprising to some. The reason that it's on this list, here's the thing, and I am not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to come for anybody or do, like, I am sharing my genuine experience. Let me just back up. The reason that I picked up this book is because Lexi has a full, like, hour something long video about the book. I got halfway through it. I said, this is hilarious. I have to read this. And I did read it. I read the audiobook, which skipped the smut because I can't do smut on audiobooks. It's so, like, I just don't like it. Here's the thing. The reason this is in the really, really good, entertainment value alone. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's crazy. If you want to know, like, why I think it's funny, I don't know that Lexi's video isn't necessarily on how funny it is. It's just on how unhinged it is. But to me, the unhingedness of it, like, the camp is genuinely hilarious. Like, this man, funniest man in fiction.
I'm gonna ruin your career. I know every photographer. I know every photographer. I know the British government and the vice president.
What? I love this man. And then this girl who's like, absolutely, all of that makes sense. No, I just think, yeah, it's fun. I don't know what to tell you.
Borderline camp. It's campy.
Why borderline? Why is it close to camp?
Because
I really don't know what to tell you.
How about this gentleman right here?
Oh, that is pure camp, baby.
It was fun. I had a good time. Bro, if I can spoil it, here's a spoiler. I mean, at one point, the father admits to crimes, and the FBI burst in, and then the brother, having seen him admit to the crimes, is like, you bitch, and beats the shit out of him in front of the FBI. And then the FBI is like, okay, anyway, and does not care that this man was just beat in front of their eyes. That's so funny. Goddess of Filth. It's on my shelf right over there. I'm not gonna go get it. I'm already sitting down. I really liked it, but there were just some elements that, like, made it not quite work for me to be like, oh, this is the best. But I remember really enjoying it. It was really good. I definitely recommend it. I was not horrified by it, but I guess it's atmospheric horror. Something like that. Urban horror? I don't know. I don't really understand the horror genre that much yet in my life.
Forgot to say, I loved the historical element. Ancient indigenous history is such a cool and important topic. Loved the gore, the mystery, and the relationships between women,
Amari and the Night Brothers. This was also something I read because, can you tell that I watch a lot of Katie Coulson? I also, like, my two top booktubers that I watched a lot were Katie Coulson and Haley.
AKA Pages of Haley.
Haley is, like, not really on as much anymore, so I've been watching a lot of Katie Coulson. Anyway, editing Janae here, just jumping in to say, the reason that Pages of Haley has not been on the internet is because she's written a book called This Ravenous Fate that is available for pre-order and publishing in 2024, and it's black and sapphic with vampires and historical. And I cannot wait to get my greedy little paws onto it. So I'm pre-ordering, and I think you should too. Amari and the Night Brothers was such a cute, fun romp. I think it's really good, like a great story for kids. Really well done, well executed. I loved the messages about like believing in yourself, and it was a really fun world. Adore. I mean, obviously it was for a lower age, not lower, but like a younger age than me. So obviously the story is not gonna resonate as much with an older person, but it's still a great story. It's still really fun, and stories generally, like, frankly, black girl stories generally are going to resonate with me. And it did. Oh, from the sunshine in your hair. Is this my first random singing of the video? Maybe the second? Listen, the last time I was editing one of my videos and I was like, girl, the way you be just singing everything is crazy. I'm really trying to hold back, y'all. I'm trying not to sing too much because I don't want to be a rosé.
I'm not snapping back at you.
That's what you just did.
Lake Lore. First of all, highly recommend the audiobook. The actor from Our Flag Means Death, who plays Jim, that actor is one of the narrators, and both narrators do an incredible job. Great narrators. This is a very, like, kind of, I would maybe say low magic, kind of low, like, magical realism. Yeah, it's kind of a magical realism story, and very based, the characters really feel like really well-formed, complete people. Very immersive, very atmospheric. I would say the only reason that this isn't on the best list is because it didn't make me go, I'm gonna shit my pants, it's so amazing. You know what I mean? It didn't do that, but it was still magnifique. There are things I can't tell you. The way I'm set up is crazy. Men who can't communicate, but are in love with each other? Tell me everything. Tell me everything. That's my favorite. People who can't communicate, but they're madly in love with each other. That's my favorite thing in the entire universe. Yeah. Love that shit. And it was just really emotional, and the emotional climax was just... That's good! Cemetery Boys! Cemetery Boys, yeah. Fucking phenomenal. Fucking incredible. Should I move it up? I already have 14. I don't know where I would rank it. But Cemetery Boys was really, 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 really fucking good. That shit I definitely recommend. Great story, great mystery, like fun mystery. I mean, it may be kind of predictable, but like the mystery portion of it, but the emotional, like, relationship between the characters, the characters, and now, like, how wonderful they are, their motives, that is what's driving them, their inner world, like the magic. Baby, oh, that's my shit. When I was reading the end, I was losing my mind. I have a whole reading blog on it. I lost it. More random singing. Gotta calm down. I'm glad my mom died. Jeanette McCurdy. I did not rate this book because it is someone's personal experience. Like, that, it was just not, I just didn't feel like it was this was not about, like, did I like it? Did I not like it? Did I feel like the writing was good? Like, that's not what this was about. This was about, like, witnessing what this person went through. An ordeal that I cannot imagine. And then, Honey Girl. beautiful, beautiful women's fiction with a heavy, not a heavy, but a healthy helping of romance, and learning about yourself, understanding yourself, figuring out your way in life, figuring out who you want to be and what you want to do. Like, from a black girl perspective, everybody shut up.
Sir, shut up. I'm trying to explain it. Shut up. Harold, shut up.
I went and bought a physical copy of this. I had read an audiobook on my drive moving from Florida to Vermont, and this made me gag control. I actually recommend the audiobook. I got the physical book, but I recommend the audiobook because there is a podcast element. So, keep that in mind. And then I think I read the
second to last, actually,
book that was published in the Saga series currently, and really enjoyed that, and that was really good. But that was way back in January, and frankly, I don't remember what happened. Way back last January. Don't remember what happened. And now for the main event, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, oops. It's not the main event yet, because we have another different main event. Before we get into best ever books, let's talk about DNFs. Okay? So we have got this graphic. These are just all the DNFs that the reason that I DNF'd it is because I was either in the midst of reading another version, had already read another version, or I plan in the future to read another version. Sometimes I really like a book and I'm like, ooh, let me go listen to the audiobook immediately right after. And it's like, and that happened twice this year. I immediately DNF'd the audiobook. So I learned to stop doing that, because as much as I love a book, I don't want to hear it over again right afterward. You got to let it marinate. At least I do. We have good books that weren't for me. I only had one of those. This was Bellies by Nicola Dinan. Great writing, and it sounded like an interesting story. That's why I wanted to keep going, but the problem was I just did not like, I liked one of the characters, but I didn't like the POV character. Couldn't stand anything he had to say, think, or anything about him, and I just couldn't get through it. But the writing was really good, and unlikable characters they're great sometimes, but I just couldn't deal with him I couldn't deal with it being a love story with a man that I found that unlikable. Maybe he grew and changed and became someone lovable and likable, but not in that moment. In that moment, it wasn't for me. Some books that I just wasn't in the mood right now. I wasn't in the mood right at that moment, but I could be in the mood later. We got Felix Ever After. My Brother's Husband. I couldn't deal with the themes of grief in that moment. I was like, I'm not in a grief moment. Loveless by Alice Oseman. That was really getting my anxiety up. Team Avatar Tales. Just, not in the mood. Self-love workbook for women. Which I frankly desperately need to do. Yeah, that's it. And then one of them, there was one book that I was liking it a lot, but I was too overwhelmed. At one point, my Libby was just overflowing with books, and I had to honestly just delete a bunch of them off of there and be put them on a list to read at some other point if I'm really that interested in it. But I can't have all of these sitting on my shelf and making me feel like, oh, I gotta read all this. So the Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, that was one of the ones that got DNF'd because of that. So that we've got Multi-Reason, The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I just wasn't super into it. The characters, the two main characters, it's a rom-com. The two main characters didn't have chemistry to me in the parts that I read, and so I was just not really into it at all. And then the library needed it back, and then my library didn't buy a new copy. I was the last person to take it out, I think, and then their license for it lapsed, and I just didn't feel the need to go out and find it. We have, so not interested in or hated it. These are books that either they would have been on the worst list if I could have finished them, but I couldn't. Bite of Loyalty. I actually bought this because of an ad for it on Instagram about a spicy scene that I was like, oh, that sounds sexy. That sounds good. But then I started reading and I was like, the first chapter I found interesting, I remember. It was as we got into the second chapter that the writing just wasn't working for me. Things were just kind of moving, the pacing, just the way that things were happening. I was just like, I'm disliking this. And so I just was like, out of here. The Weekly Faith Project. I was trying to get back into spirituality, and I was like, maybe it'll be easier with stuff by Black women, and so I bought that, and assuming it was by a Black woman because it was in a Black bookshop, and then I found out it was published by Zondervan, the architects of some of the greatest tragedies of my childhood. Not really tragedies, but like, you know, they wrote all the fucked up books that made you feel fucking awful. So I didn't want to really read it anymore.
Check out my Pango Books shop. Link in description. Not a lot there right now, but as I read more of physical TBR, there will be more.
And then we have a book that I would love to tell you about how much I hated it. But it is under the SMP boycott. So we are boycotting SMP, and I say me, I mean readers who want accountability from publishers, readers who don't want marketing executives to spew hatred and racism with impunity. Okay, it is a brand new day. It is a brand new look. Sorry, I'm looking in the viewfinder. I'm just seeing that I look presentable. So I believe where we left off was talking about the SMP boycott. There is a book on my not interested, like hated DNFs that I won't be talking about or discussing why I hated it so much because it is under the SMP boycott. So if you don't understand or know what that is, essentially the St. Martin's Press, there was an employee, very high up employee in their marketing department who went on after the events of October 7th and everything that's been happening with Palestine, which I don't know if I said in this Free Palestine, like I'll have descriptions in the link below on like how you can call and email your senators. I've been finding it hard to do calls because of my social anxiety or whatever, my anxiety issues, so I've been doing a lot of emails, but you can also do calls after hours to let them know that we would not like our country to be participating in genocide. Okay? We're not fucking with it. This employee was being super racist online and just being like, I'm not going to try and paraphrase it because I don't want to get into any situation where I'm undermining the movement by my paraphrasing coming off as like accusations or whatever, but I remember what I read and it was pretty horrific. I did not fuck with that at all. And the thing about it is that there's also issues with, there's also kind of a side issue that it really doesn't have to do with the boycott, but is kind of relevant, I guess, that has to do with ARCs and Arab and Muslim influencers sometimes not being treated equitably. That's the main thing there, that like, okay, if a marketing executive, okay, it's 2 + 2 really. Marketing executive is being racist. What does that mean for like the rest of the company if a person in a position of power is able to just be super racist with seemingly the backing of this like huge like publishing house? So is that what, so all of y'all stand with that? All of y'all fuck with racism? Okay, interesting. And I just want to go ahead and head it off before anybody even wants to come in here and be like, well, it's anti-Semitic because the woman is Jewish. The identity of this employee is like not relevant at all. It is not about, no one is like coming at her because she's Jewish. We're coming at, hey, you were being super racist and you need to stop. And no one's saying that this employee should be fired either. We're saying as a company, you need to address the fact that like there is very clear Islamophobia and racism in the top tier levels of your executive branch. So you need to work on that and fix it and, you know, make it available to the public so that we know that, you know, influencers that are working with you can understand that they are, and readers know that they're safe, because y'all are supposed to be like y'all are supposed to have lots of diverse imprints. You're supposed to be diverse, like, so, and have like put out diverse books. So walk the walk. You're talking the talk, walk the walk. If you're like, yeah, all of our employees get to go around and do racisms all day at work and we love it, then how are we as readers supposed to feel safe like interacting with you? And I want to make it clear that this boycott does not necessarily reflect on any of the authors under this imprint. They had no way of knowing what was going on. Boycotts, yeah, sometimes it can suck for an author, but what's great about this boycott is it is a marketing boycott, not a consumer boycott. So we are just withholding free labor. We are withholding our reviews and our, you know, the online hype that we normally would give a book. Instead, but we are still able to read the book. We are still able to buy the book. I'm actually not sure what the guidelines are on like reviewing an SMP book on like your personal account, like your Storygraph. Like, I don't even know if you have to have settings to make your reviews public on Storygraph, or your Goodreads. I know Goodreads reviews tend to be public. So I will look into that and see if I can find that information out. Okay, I checked with some organizers as well as looked at the FAQ page, and it looks like we don't want to be logging reading any SMP books on Goodreads or Storygraph because it does boost those books and takes away from the impact of the boycott. However, I will be using a private offline tracker, which you can do as well. Like I said earlier, I recommend Aubrey K templates. But there will be links in my description where you can go to the card. You can understand more about the boycott. You can get some stickers talking about, there are stickers that are like Readers for Palestine, what you're currently reading, etc. like that. Expert Book Smugglers made this really cute sticker that I'll put up right here. That's Readers for Palestine. And now my battery is blinking. Why is this happening to me? So that's on the SMP boycott, and we'll be right back.
The audio started to get weird, and I don't know why. Unsure how to fix. So, sorry about that.
Okay. We're back at it again, and we're doing... I just gotta plug Storygraph. Y'all, Storygraph is the love of my life. Like, when a bunch of people downloaded it, and so it went down for like an hour, and it's never... Like a day, and that's never happened before. And it literally... I understood how the girls feel when Twitter would be down, or when, like, AO3 would be down. Like, I would... What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? How can I not update my reading? It was like very, honestly, terrifying and scary for me. But it's back up, and I love her so much. This might get some of y'all. Some of y'all might be upset. I have gone on a little, kind of a journey with Sarah J. Maas, who is just, the thing about a lot of people, I think, are kind of like, Sarah J. Maas is the worst, she's such a piece of shit, and if you like her, you better fucking die because you're a racist piece of shit. I am more on the trail of Sarah J. Maas is a racist white liberal, which is like so many people. So many people. Sarah J. Maas is an ignorant white woman. Again, so many people that I have to deal with on a constant basis. If I didn't want to deal with any ignorant liberal white people ever again, I just simply wouldn't be able to exist in America. Generally, like, I find her books, the lack of diversity is disgusting. Obviously, she started Throne of Glass, I think, when she was 16 or something like that, so there's a little bit of an explanation for that, but then the Nehemia thing was so crazy racist. Like, honestly, like, genuinely, like, that shit is disgusting, quite frankly, what she did to Nehemia. So, with Sarah J. Maas, I was like, okay, she's just ignorant and stupid, but she's still doing harm with that ignorance because her books are so popular and they have so little diversity, so little representation. And I mean, at least in the court series, we got a black court. Do they figure heavily at all into the... Nope. And as you can see, I read like most of Throne of Glass and the full court series of what the parts that are out now. Really before learning anything about her. I'm no longer doing that now. Now it's re-research the author first. I'm getting on that spiel now because finding out about afterward is just too much. I'm sick of it. I'm done. As we can see from my problematic book listing earlier. Anyway, I say all that to say, book I DNF'd was Tower of Dawn. Now, originally, because I hadn't read the book before Tower of Dawn, so I was like, oh, I'm just doing them in the wrong order. And then I opened, like, the book before it, I forget what it's called, Mountain something, I don't know. And I was just like, ugh, we're white womaning again. We're doing more white woman things. Oh, no, it's Tower of Dawn, right. Because the book before it is just so... I think the other thing about Sarah J. Maas, even if it was full of diversity and she'd never done anything racist in the world, the thing about Sarah J. Maas is that she does a lot of lazy shit. Like, her books are very enjoyable, and I think that's why a lot of non-readers get into them. I think, they're a great entry point into fantasy for a lot of people, and I think that's why they're so popular. But, come on. The riddle in ACOTAR, the end of Court of Silver Flames. What was that? What is that? What was that? That was the lazy. Sorry. Yeah, Tower of Dawn. I was just like, I started it and I was just like, because this is supposed to be in the brown people country, right? So we're finally supposed to get some brown people in Sarah J. Maas's world, and it's the most boring writing that she's done so far that I'm reading, and I'm just like, so can you only write good when it's about white people? That's crazy. Anyway, I'm not in the camp of like if you read Sarah J. Maas Stoner to death, I'm also like, you can do better. It's almost like it's just like a man that I'm like, is he the worst man out there? No, but you could do better, baby girl. Love yourself. Okay, baby girl, let's go and come up together. Let's go up the mountain. You know. And then there's this whole thing of like apparently the Tower of Dawn and like books after that and Throne of Glass. Again, could this have come from a place of ignorance? Possibly, but apparently they have like kind of this weird Zionist slant to them.
Learned after recording that SJM went on a birthright trip. And is proud of it, so there goes the ignorance excuse. Although many Zionists are indoctrinated from a young age, there's still no excuse for the things she apparently wrote in this book.
You know, that kind of white supremacist, weird, takeover colonizer kind of shit going on that I don't really fuck with at all. Now, that is only a report I've heard. I have not read it. I have not read it to understand exactly what that is, but even just the report of that, I'm like, I'm not interested. Wouldn't like. I don't want any. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't want any. Take it back. I've only got an hour. Oh my god. I can't stop singing or I'll die. The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This book I read or tried to read for one of my reading vlogs that's up. I think it was my Clearing Out My Libby. That was my Clearing Out My Libby vlog that I tried to read that for. It said, what I saw was, great writer, because Ta-Nehisi Coates is a great writer. The writing is not the problem at all for me. But I see, it's fantasy. Not fantasy, but magical realism, low fantasy kind of thing going on from a black writer. First of all, I'm on your side immediately if you say that to me. Immediately. But it took a damn long time to get to any of the magical elements. So definitely more magical realism than anything. And the part that is about before the magical elements is a lot of slavery stuff. And, you know, if you want to read a story that talks about slavery and has a magical element, and has good writing, this might be for you. But for me, like, the thing I love about books is escaping our reality. And I'll read, if I need to be educated on something, I'm happy to read something that is outside of my experience to be educated about something. But if I'm just reading for fun and not trying to, you know, and you can learn through fiction, of course, but if my explicit purpose is just pleasure, fun, just want a good story, and I'm going to fantasy, not necessarily trying to get into the slavery of it all, am I? Ancestral drama, not really what I'm going for. Fair, is it? No. And then when we finally got to the magic, he wakes up, mild spoiler, I guess, not really. He wakes up from a thing that has to do with the magic, and a white woman is there, and she's like, I'm the white woman, and I know everything about your little power. And maybe he would have grown to take on his own power himself, and maybe it wouldn't have been like she knows everything, da-da-da-da. But just from that moment, I was just fed up. I was fed up. It was enough. It was too much. You're going to do all of this slavery stuff, and then we finally get to the magic, and we get to him taking his power back. A white woman is in charge, and she knows all about the magic. And a white woman who is a part of the slave owner class. I don't want this. I don't want it. I don't want it. And maybe in 10 years I would read this and be like, oh, actually it's good. And maybe again, if I had gone to the end, maybe it would have all made sense. I'm not counting Ta-Nehisi Coates out at all because amazing, incredible writer. It's very likely that I'm wrong about this book, but it just didn't work for me in this moment. So I think that's kind of a DNF for now. It's in the not interested, hated it. That's just because that's the point that I was at that book. But it could be something I revisit, revisiting books I DNF'd and hated or whatever. And lastly, and I'm not going to get too into this because the man has unfortunately passed, R.I.P. Matthew Perry, but Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Unfortunately, this was a DNF for me. Just simply mainly for the writing style and just kind of the narrative choices didn't work for me personally. Now, obviously, Matthew Perry and Jeanette McCurdy, they have two similar things where, you're not supposed to. It's hard to look at a memoir about really terrible things that have gone on in a person's life and look at it and be like, I don't like the writing. I don't like the for me, that's really usually not the point. However, unfortunately, if it is a kind of a glaring thing for me, it can overtake the power of the story. And it just wasn't for me. But, you know, obviously Matthew Perry made us all laugh, made a lot of us laugh. And, you know, it's always sad when someone passes from fighting something, an illness that is, you know, too often misunderstood, too often demonized, too often minimized in our culture. Even with someone with as many resources as he had, I think part of the book, the part of the book that I did read through, I think he said it was either $4 million or $14 million he had sunk into just rehab after rehab after rehab. So if nothing else, we learned that, like, if someone with all of those resources sinking millions into that, if it's still hard for them, then like it is nothing. Alcoholism is nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, I feel like people with alcoholism are often vilified, and drug addiction as well. So I have hope seeing big celebrities like Demi Lovato, Matthew Perry speaking out on their struggles. They are often still vilified and mocked, but I think more of us are like looking at that and being like, okay, this is telling me more about this issue. This is making me understand, you know, what's going on for this person and how this can affect your life. Even a show, controversial as it may be, like Euphoria, can help someone understand more about, like, this is what it's like to go through this. And, you know, I shouldn't be so quick to judge. Those were my DNFs. Now let's get into the grand finale. Best reads of 2023. Oh yeah. On TikTok, I did a video about the top 5. So you might already know my top 5. But do you know my top 14? Coming in at number 14, we're gonna try and crack, because I think this video is already almost an hour long. The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is not my favorite book in the Broken Earth trilogy, but it is an incredible, fantastic, amazing book. I think I gave it a 4.5, 4.75, something like that. Oh my god. The callbacks, the chain, like the characters that we get introduced to, the characters that we learn more about, plot points. Sweetie, it's incredible. So N.K. Jemisin has quickly become my standard for fantasy sci-fi writing. Frankly, if you're not at that Jemisin level, I don't know that you can get a 5. Maybe for enjoyment, but for craftsmanship and enjoyment, plot development, character development, story, everything, diversity, everything, every single thing on your checklist, bitch, brah, 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 brah. She's got it all. She's the total package. She is not a triple threat, she's a quadruple threat. I am so excited for the next N.K. Jemisin project, like whatever it may be. I'm so excited to read her backlist. Like, her backlist is on my TBR this year. Number 13, Ink by Jade Hernandez. One of my few, I'm trying to get more into indie reads, but one of the few, I think, indie reads that I've read this year. And a semi-dark romance. So, you know, becoming in my romance girly era, this woman is filled with rage, the atmosphere, the romance, even the spice, like all of it was coming together for me. I was like, this is delicious. I ate it up. It's a novella, so it's really quick, and I literally give me all that. Jackal. This is, I would call this, like, again, I really don't understand, I don't know a lot about the horror genre, but it seems more like a literary horror to me. I loved, like, the first part, the reason it's not higher up is that the first part was a little hard to get into, but as soon as I got going, it was just clues, mystery, intrigue, horror elements, great character development, great, deep, complex characters. Beautiful. Just every second of it was gorgeous. I would be interested, because I heard some negative reviews about this, so I'm interested to know what the negative reviews are. I wonder if my guess would be this is more atmospheric horror than, like, ooh, straight up ghoul, ghosts, goblins kind of thing. It is more atmospheric and a little supernatural. So maybe that was what it was, or maybe they're racist. You can never count out the racists. But genuinely, I mean, you know, that's the only complaint I could see is that maybe the horror elements weren't up to what people were expecting. But as a new initiate into the horror world, I was like, she did it. It was incredible. And I am definitely going to be reading more from this author, Camaro. This was a first-time author for me. And I am going to talk about new authors.
Hello. I'm coming to you because on an iPhone, because I forgot. I skipped from 12 to 10 in my countdown somehow. So, number 11 is Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng, and it was a gorgeous, beautiful story about resistance, about nonviolent protest, about family, and anti-Asian sentiment and racism, and how that can tear families apart. Not only can it, but it has. And this kind of fictional dystopian world where it's kind of amplified to make a point really reflects back at us our world where this genuinely has happened, and it honestly has gotten that bad, and we still want to pretend that everything's okay and our world is fine when it isn't. I loved the narrator, as I'll say later when I'm talking about Celeste Ng as a new author, and I love just I love the writing. I loved the turns of phrase. Celeste Ng has a beautiful way of telling a story, and a heartbreaking ending, but a very beautiful ending, and I just couldn't, it was really lovely. So yeah, definitely someone that I'm going to continue checking out as an author, and absolutely love this book. Read it as an audiobook. So
then we've got number 10, Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. It talked about a lot of things I knew about, but it also talked about a lot of things that I hadn't really considered, because I did grow up in the middle class, like came from, place of relative privilege, and there are things because of that, there are a lot of things that I have not experienced that are often a part of the Black American experience for the Black woman. The experience of poverty is something that is very common in America that I'm maybe not always as aware of as I should be. And I definitely, if you're a white feminist, for sure you need to read this. Now, maybe if you're all deep in the theory and maybe it'll be very basic for you, but definitely if you're one of the girlies that's just like, I just got here, read diverse. Like you are kind of on page 1 of White Feminism 101, definitely pick up Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Honestly, even at intermediate, I would still pick it up. I would consider myself kind of in that intermediate area, and I would recommend picking it up just to look at some perspectives that you might not have had before. There's just really a lot of talking about privilege and a lot about how all of us have privileges. Most of us, I would say, have some kind of privilege, how we can be reaching out and listening and being there for people who don't have the same things we do. Whew. And now that we're at 10, I'm actually going to break this up because there are 2 other things I want to talk about, but obviously I want the best books of the year to be the big thing. Now that we're done with my 14 through 10 best books, let's talk about my new authors of this year that I have read. And we're just going to rapid fire this and just be like, will I read from them again? So let me pull up my Storygraph wrap up. I've got that summary in my bio in case anybody hasn't seen it. So I read a total of 38 new authors this year. So let's just take a look at that list. So Manner of Death by Salmon and Yukari Umamento. I'm on the fence about reading from them again. Possibly. It's a possibility. Adib Karam. Want to read everything he's ever written. Love it. Stan King. How to Keep House While Driving. Casey Davis. Possibly. Wouldn't be opposed. Kylie Reed. I'm down to give her a second chance because Black women writers, like, I'm down to give you a second chance. Obviously, Tamsin Muir. Obviously, I am on the Lock Team train. Beep beep. Like, get out of my way. I'm coming. I just hit my leg that had fallen asleep. Lord have mercy. But I'm down. Jade Hernandez, another one. I'm on the train, girl. The Los Diablos MC Motorcycle Club series. I will be reading that. Miguel is coming out. I think I've already pre-ordered it. If I haven't, it's on my to pre-order list. I will be reading that when it comes out. Oh my god, what if it's already out and I've missed it? I'll die. Oh my god. It did already came out. It came out in the 4th of December. Okay, so clearly So that goes on my 2023 TBR immediately. 2024 TBR, excuse me. So some of these are doubles, because it's one new author, but I read several things from them. So I don't know if it's 38 authors or 38 books from new authors. How Storygraph is calling it. Taylor Jenkins Reid. No. The only reason I'd read something again by Taylor Jenkins Reid is if it was really, if people were saying, no, this is different from everything else she's ever read. But The Seven Husbands was so hyped up and it was so not worth it. Like, I'm not believing y'all. Y'all be lying. No, you're not actually lying, but you're not aligning with my tastes. If you're a Taylor Jenkins Reid girly, okay, I can't say based off of one book that our tastes don't align, but I'm guessing our tastes don't align. However, I do believe I did want to compare some book to screen adaptations, so I might read Daisy Jones and the Sixth for that. So that may be, so yeah, I probably will try her again, and that is the one that people tend to like I see recommended most. So if that one works out, we shall see. But definitely the whole Carrie Soto was back. Like, apparently her people being like, hey, please don't write anything that's from a group that you're not in, and her being like right, and everybody's being like, please don't do that, and she's like, you know what I mean? So Morgan Rogers of Honey Girl, absolutely I will pick up new things by Morgan Rogers. She doesn't have anything out yet. I need to follow her so that I need to go through and follow my new authors that I like. Katie Robert, like I said, if she writes, I believe she's gonna write something queer, I will try it. But it just wasn't for me personally. Saki Tasukara, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Replay was fine. Very mid for me, so I just don't think I'll be seeking out anything from this author again. Rachel Smythe, for Lore Olympus, not particularly interested. Again, it was just fine, so probably not. Celeste Ng, sweetie, I'm literally everything that is by her at my local library. Borrow. Everything. This woman be writing. And then Lucy Liu's narration of the audiobook was so incredible. I was like, oh my god, please tell me Lucy Liu narrates something else. She doesn't. I think she might narrate some cookbooks, but obviously I'm not listening to cookbooks personally. Anna Marie McLemore, absolutely. Several are on my to-read list already. And as I said just now, Aaron E. Adams, excuse me. Yes, Miss Thing, I need to subscribe to her mailing list. Gillian McAllister, I don't know. The author of Iron Widow, my first instinct is to pronounce this Jiran J. Zhao, but I've also heard someone say Kieran J. Zhao, so I'm not sure which one is correct, but I did just get an audiobook that will probably tell me.
By Xiran J. Zhao.
Absolutely. Already pre-ordered. Heavenly Body, Celestial Heaven, something like that. The second book in the Iron Widow series, already pre-ordered. Physical ebook and audiobook, so I should bang. B.B. Gilmore. Maybe. It's a possibility. We'll see. B.B. Alston, for sure. Definitely gonna read the rest of the Amari and the Night Brothers series. Jeanette McCurdy, yeah. If Jeanette McCurdy comes out with something else, I would, if she came out with something fiction, I would judge the writing in that if it was fiction. But I am down to see what she does. I mean, she has a writing agent now. I'm down to see what she can put out. Sangu Mandana. It was a 3, but it was a good 3. So it was like mid, but like I saw positive feelings about it. So yeah, I'll say probably. Alice Oseman, yes. Yeah. Alice Oseman, I've really enjoyed Heartstopper this year. Emma Straub, probably not. This Time Tomorrow was not for me. V. Castro, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Bonnie Garmis, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Olivia Stevens, hell fucking yes. Anna Huang, yes. Because my bitch be putting bitches in situations and scenarios. And I enjoy a situation and scenario. And honestly, like, the books aren't poorly written. They just, the circumstances are just very camp. I would say they're very campy. The books are campy to me. And I love to pitch a 10. Alice Walker? No. Because she's a fucking TERF and she loves TERF shit. Cassandra Caw? Yes, I think I did buy a Cassandra Caw book. Heavy, The Salt Grows Heavy. I have that. It's in my spooky pile somewhere. Aiden Thomas, absolutely will be rereading for sure. Kia Lucier, it was a mid for me, but like I said, it was a good mid. I would definitely check it out. Fargo, no, absolutely not. No, 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 no. Mickey Kendall, yes, 1000%, absolutely. Kelly Quinlan, one more shot, because I love the concept, I love the ideas, I love what's going on. It just, the writing didn't work for me. Angeline Booley, new autobiography author, new favorite author, like new on my list of favorite authors, and I only read one book. I'm not one of those girls, I need 3 books from you. Nah, you write one banger, you're going on the list. And Daku Mofu, yes, things I can't tell you, there are things I can't tell you bangs, and I am absolutely down. Okay, so let's get back into it with the top, going from 10 down to 5. So number 9, Darius the Great is not okay. This was such a beautiful, I talked about this at length on TikTok. This was such a gorgeous YA book about the experience of an Iranian American teenager who is discovering his sexuality, discovering his identity, really trying to grapple with his identity in the face of being bullied at school, and just kind of being different, having issues with his weight and his depression and his father figure, having trouble there. Every single thing about this hit for me. Like many of these issues that I don't or have not struggled with, but like the way that it's written, emotionally it hit for me. It did what it needed to do. It did what needed to be done. Absolutely. Absolutely 1000% recommend. And then, of course, right after that is Darius the Great Deserves Better, which upped the ante, was even better than Darius the Great Is Not Okay. What's interesting is that Darius the Great Is Not Okay. It's a very subtle, kind of subtextual exploration of his sexuality. And then we kind of skip the coming out. I guess the author wasn't interested in exploring that, which is fair because that's been explored in depth by a lot of other authors. And then he gets more into like really exploring, like, what does it mean to be in a relationship? What does it mean to, understand my sexuality? What does it mean to connect with my queer grandparents on my father's side who I can't seem to relate to, like, and then, navigating those new relationships and the pressures that can come with them and all of those different things. It's just like, Adib did it. Adib did that. Did that. I can't wait for book 3. I can't wait to read all of Adib's other books, like king shit. Number 7, Heartstopper. The books, I have the books up to volume 4, finished volume 4, and then the mini comics and chapter 7 online, which I guess is going to be volume 5. All of those, I mean, it's just so heartwarming and beautiful and sweet. Now, of course, there was a big discussion online this year about how traditional publishing seems to prioritize queer love stories by non-queer, like people who are not queer men, over male love stories by queer men, or queer male love stories by queer men. And that is obviously sucky. It sucks ass that they do that. That is not discounting. Like, it just means that we as readers need to push for that more and read that more. It doesn't mean that the other MM that is by people who don't necessarily identify as queer men, that those people aren't still good. Like Alice Bozeman, from what I'm aware of, from my understanding, identifies as non-binary, but that doesn't make their take less valid. You know what I mean? It's just, or not less valid, but we're not trying to be like, no, get rid of all the non-men who write MM. That's not really what it is. It's just that more as readers, we need to make sure that that queer men's voices are uplifted in fiction. We need to read MM by queer men, and we definitely don't need to do that weird thing where they're like, well, it's for women, so women should write it. Don't be one of those freaks. That's super weird. You're being really weird, my guy. So yeah, Heartstopper, banged, went off, love it. And then number 6 was Catching Fire. Honestly, this could go in either order from the next book. The next book, these could kind of switch places or stay the same. Either way, they bang, fantastic. incredible Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. My reread of Hunger Games series. Absolutely just incredible work by that author. Especially, everything that happened with the genocide and occupation in Gaza after October 7th it's really eye-opening to like reading it as a kid. I wasn't really like thinking of like this in terms of our world and where I land in that space, but reading it as an adult, I'm like, oh, we're in the capital, and as people in the capital, yes, we are often silenced, but also we do hold an immense amount, not capital, but in the kind of neo-colonist, like colonial empires, yes, we are very silenced and oppressed often, but we also have privileges that may not even be aware of, because we're very intentionally left out of the loop on things going on outside the world, unless we seek it out, or unless our friends and those that we care about, our communities, make us aware of it. But like the goal that the empires we live in have is to keep us unaware, and to keep us just chilling, when really that's not the tea. Also, the other night I had a dream that, because I remember nothing that happens in Mockingjay, and I had a dream that what happens in Mockingjay, and we'll find out if this is true or not, is that Katniss and Peeta have to go to an ocean. They have to do a third Hunger Games on the ocean in, what do you call it? They have to paddle around on rafts and like snipe each other from the rafts. I don't know. That doesn't sound real. The more I say it, the more I'm like, that can't be what book 3 is about. And now let's go into the last thing I wanted to talk about. Let's do a challenges check-in really quick before I do my last, top 5 reads of 2023. Let's do a challenges check-in. So let me just check into Storygraph. So my 2023 reading goal, I did meet 60 books. We'd love to see it. I technically cheated a lot. Reading for Maui. Technically, I did not complete my book for Reading for Maui within the timeline, because I am #slow reader gang. I did read Year of the Reaper for Reading for Maui, and I did do my donation, but I was not able to finish it within the time, so I don't know. And I definitely didn't do 9 prompts. I only did 1 prompt. 14th to the 28th, so it gave me 2 weeks. 2 weeks to read 9 books. Even still, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but that's honestly not realistic for me. I think a book a week is the most realistic I can be for me. And that kind of sucks, because it means I don't get to read as much as other people, but it is what it is, isn't it? I get myself, and if you know, like I get somebody else. Black Halloween is technically still going, because it's allowing people, the Storygraph challenge is allowing people to try to collect all the multiple Black Halloween prompts for several years. For me personally, I don't think I got any of my Black Halloween prompts done. I don't think I did a damn one, not a single one. Let me see.
I read 1, I repeat 1 bonus prompt. Did not finish any full path queen shit.
Okay, Liberate with Literature. That is a Black Book Talk for Palestine reading challenge. I have to win that challenge. There are 7 prompts. It was from October to January, so really I should have more done for this than I do. But yeah, I definitely need to do more for that challenge. But that is challenge that technically is still ongoing, so we will say maybe I can make it. The Nightmare Before Christmas readathon was one that I created, and one other person participated in, because it was Reads with Michaela.
Michaela girl, I am so sorry. Michaela Reads is one of the organizers, as well as Maddie Moon's library. So those are the girls that organized the Nightmare Before Christmas readathon.
Was doing a challenge on that, and she was co-hosting, and so I was like, oh, there's no Storygraph challenge, she doesn't have Storygraph, and I make a Storygraph challenge because I really want to do it. So that was the 23rd of October. I think I finished all of them. I completed all of them. Now, did I do a bunch of did I use Jackal for damn near all of these? Yes. What's your point? What's your point? What does that have to do with anything? That I doubled the books. So what? Buzzwordathon 2023, I completed 8 prompts. 8 prompts out of 12. So, that was just a fun, I'm not too worried about the challenge. That wasn't challenge. That challenge was about, that was just for fun. It wasn't for like diversifying my reading or anything. The last two, let's see, we've got the Be Intentional Reading Challenge. I got the Be Intentional Reading Challenge. It is to help diversify, but at the same exact time, you can't take it too seriously because there are 140 prompts. So I only did 21 prompts out of 140, and I'm fine with that. That is okay. 15%, that's fine with me because I'm not a girl who reads. I read 50 books a year. Like 60 was stretching it for me last year. Then the 23 for 23 challenge. So what I really wanted to do, technically I probably completed this challenge if you count what I read before the year, like the challenge started, because the challenge started in, oh no, it says January. I mean, so technically I probably did complete all the prompts, but it was started in August, and I was just so, you know what? I think I did read books for this. So I am going to go in and look at my other books that I read in 2023. Let me just see if we're just taking in everything that I read since August, I only completed 15 prompts. Again, I'm not 100, like, I only completed 50 prompts because I only had, like, okay, if we're cutting 50 books in half, I only had 25 books in total left for the year. So maybe I should have hit that goal, but I don't think I did. But let me add, some of them I didn't add to the reading challenge. I didn't add to 23 or 23. So let me just go through here really quick. So I can't get to the phone. Please leave a message after the time. Okay, so the last one I added was Our Missing Hearts. So there are two more authors of color I read from since I read Our Missing Hearts. They are comics, webcomics, and manga, which is kind of, I don't think it's necessarily cheating, but it's not necessarily like exactly what we're. I don't think it's cheating, but it was definitely cheating towards my 60 book goal because I did want to read like books as opposed to comics more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 books left. If we're going from August, I've read like enough so that it's just let me see what the actual percentage is. Okay, so if counting from August, I did 74%, 17 prompts completed out of 23. That would mean I have 6 more prompts to fill. So let's see if I read 6 other BIPOC like books about, people of color, Black people of color. Did I read those books in 2023? I believe that I did. Obviously the challenge didn't exist in the first part of the year, and I was really trying to get it in the second half of the year. Didn't quite hit it. Mostly because I was doing it was like a few rereads, like, oh, Hunger Games movies coming out. Let's do Hunger Games. I think Firekeeper's Daughter was my first read for 2020 for the 23 challenge. Yep, I think it was. So let's see. Before that, Heartstopper is, it's clear, but it's very white. Let's see. There are things I can't tell you. Was not added to 23 for 23. So let me just go ahead and add things I can't tell you. The 23 for 23. I am shocked. So that would make it 18. So let's see what number 19 is. So let's see if we have, let's see. I think we do, but let me see if we have it, a number 19. Number 19, obviously, Darius the Great, like the 2 books I read. 19, 20, because they're both Black people of color, for people of color. Cassandra Caw, that's going to be number 21. And then Such a Fun Age, 22. And The Color Purple, 23, even though, again. And then Cemetery Boys would be 24. And then Hood Feminism, 25. And Obelisk Gate, 26. So, and Honey Girl, 27. But that's not close enough for me. It is about half the books I read, which makes me feel good about what's going to look like, my stats video is going to look like. I just don't like it. Not a bit. Not at all. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so those are my challenges. And finally, my top 5 best books of 2023. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Everything I said about Catching Fire, just also even more, just the fact that, like, this book is, like, so pitch perfect as a YA book. Like, literally, there's not a second where you're bored. But it also doesn't feel like it goes too fast. It keeps you like things are happening either internally or externally on every single page that are keeping you invested, keeping you moving forward. The characters make sense, like they're complex. Like we are very deep in Katniss's POV, so we're really seeing the world from her perspective. We're seeing how things work from her perspective, and of course this like the social and political commentary of it all. Really excellent book for young people to read. Really excellent book for anyone of any age to read. Love to see it. Number 4, Iron Widow. Iron Widow. I just had, this is up here, like, these Best Buys are, like, Best Buy enjoyment, not necessarily craft. No, I'm not saying this book is poorly crafted, it's not. It is well written. What I'm saying is, though, the vibes are, the really thing that draws you in is the vibes. The vibes are absolutely fucking immaculate. The concept, absolutely fucking immaculate. We are talking about a downtrodden, disadvantaged woman going on a murderous revenge plot rampage, absolutely completely upending the world in which she lives, and being like, and I do it again, bop, bop, bitch, woo, my queen, and then being like, one nigga ain't enough, I'm gonna have two, and then them niggas have started to fall in love by the end of the book. I mean, I'm sorry that that's not really a spoiler because everyone's always talking about it like it's about polyamory and feminine rage, you know what I mean? So we love to see it. And then also the men are like full of rage, but in a let's beat the system way, not in a let's hurt women kind of way. So we love to see that. We love to see men channel their rage for the system, against the system. Number 3, Artie and the Wolf Moon. This book is just like a hug. It is so sweet, and I bought those books. They're right over there. The reason I just didn't think to grab them before I sat down, and I'm in a very precarious position, so I can't get up and go get them. But yeah, Artie and the Wolf Moon is just so sweet. It's like such a hug. It is such a ode to family and to really strong to family and to growing up. Being a black girl who loves art, as a photo black girl myself, like it was so great, and queer, like, and having those like queer relationships and understandings of yourself and interactions with other girls, and then the magic of everything just made it even better for me because I love magic, and it just made me so happy, and I loved it. And immediately I went out and bought it immediately. Okay, Firekeeper's Daughter. I will keep saying this. I'm going to keep saying it. And maybe you already know it, but I'm going to keep saying it, which is that it is, it might be the perfect book. I don't know. Hey, it might be the perfect book. The perfect asterisk non-fantasy book. Because we all know fantasy, I mean, for me, I love fantasy, and that shit is out here banging every day, but non-fantasy, perfect book. Such beautiful, strong family and community relationships, such gorgeous, like, well done, well articulated characters. They're just drawn so perfectly. You understand them, you feel for them, you root for them, you hurt for them, and you are really being led into a world and a community. Like, for me, as a non-Indigenous person, I'm being led into a world and a community that I have no experience of, and I'm just being shown like how beautiful the community is and complex, and like it's just absolutely wonderful, absolute gorgeous. And there's a romance, there's a little cute little, you know, YA fake dating romance in there, but at its heart it's a mystery. And I had somebody, they were saying that the main character has a little bit of a not like other girls thing going on. I think that's true. I think that's one of the character's flaws that is explored and then not, I don't know if quite resolved, but it's definitely lessened by the end of the book. So I think that if that is something that's a pet peeve of yours, maybe you won't like that. But I think it might help you to know that that's something that by the end of the book, she definitely changes some of her views on that. Then we have got number 1, the Lactome series. All hail the bones. All hail the bones. All hail the lesbians and the bones. Lesbians and bones. Lesbians and bones. The way this book, this series of 3 books, and with the 4th one outcoming, It does a full Hannibal NBC, rips, just takes your skull off, razors into there, lifts it up, takes your brain, and takes a blender and just goes, leaves your brain a little mush, and then goes, bye babe, see you next book. And you're just like, huh? And maybe I'll even input some of my favorite, I have a Instagram post, so I'll just input some of my favorite the Lockdown posts that I think will help you really feel like, I've got to read this. I mean, the writing is incredible. The author might genuinely be insane, which I love, because I love when insane girls write things. Insane girls who write, unmatched. Unfucking matched. And the characters, it's so, there are so many characters, and they are all such full characters that you love or hate, and it's just so well done. And it's just like, when I am reading a book that's not to these levels of like an N.K. Jemisin and Tamsin Muir, and I'm saying, oh, this needed to be edited more, developmental editing needed this, and this, and people are getting offended, and they're like, well, it was edited, It's like, absolutely, for sure, but like, don't we want our story to be the best it can be? And the books like the Lockdown series is really, and N.K. Jemisin's books are to me the epitome of a book, and even The Firekeeper's Daughter. Oh, by the way, new favorite author, period. That is the epitome of a book being the best it can be. That is the best version of that book that could possibly exist in this world. And that's honestly an existence that I want for all books and stories. So that's why I'm such a strong believer in editing. I'm such a strong believer in a good editor that understands your story and loves it as much as you do, or hey, cares enough to tear it down and make you start from scratch. Because when a book is the best it can be, when a story is the best it can be, that is so fucking magical. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I will just say thank you for taking a moment with me. Thank you for looking at 2023 with me. Let me know anything about your best and worst and mids and DNFs of 2023. And I hope this video helped make your day better, and definitely not worse. And if your day was bad, I hope this made it better. And you know what I mean. And with all the love in my heart, goodbye.